Coach Reynolds is. So you're a different kind of dude than we have on Complete QB Live because you're coaching on the defensive side of the ball, man. So we want to welcome you there. And we know that you've been with Coach Babers now for some time. You guys came out of the MAC together, right? Why don't you give us a quick rundown, Coach, on where you've been at the collegiate level from when you wrapped playing to where you're at here today, man?
Sure. So I'm a product of a Husky, Northern Illinois. I graduated in 2004.
Yep.
I took 2 years to, I guess, I want to say, figure out what my calling was, and I
Yep.
was working 2 years back at home at Hertz Rent a Car, and the Lord laid it on my heart during that time that I wasn't in my calling. And to make a long story short, I got into coaching. I started from the bottom,
Yep.
and which was the Division III level. I
No doubt.
was at Wisconsin Platteville for 2 years with Coach Emmerdorfer and his staff. While they gave me my first opportunity. From there, I went to Oklahoma State
Yep.
with Coach Gundy and staff. I was there for 2 years. From that stop, I went to University of Central Oklahoma for 1 year, and from there, I went to Central Michigan for 2 years at the MAC, where that was I guess you can say my background, and
Yeah.
I spent 2 years there. And from Central Michigan, went to Western Michigan. And during my time at Western Michigan, I was under tutelage of PJ Fleck, who's the head coach at Minnesota.
Yep.
We competed against Dino Babers and his staff at Bowling Green. In the first year at Western, when I was at Western, we wind up getting the best of Bowling Green that first year, and we have one of the better defenses in that league. And then the second year, uh, it was a back and forth battle, but Bowling Green prevailed and beat us. And what kind of transpired to me, kind of ended up here, was I think my reputation and the way my guys played, and I think Coach Babers was looking for somebody like myself, and make a long story short, without getting into all the details, it just kind of fell in place. And I've been with Coach for the last 4 seasons, going on year 5, and it's been an awesome ride.
Sure. Coach, you know what? The one part of the bio, well, we're excited to have you, first of all, but the one part of the bio I didn't know about was Hertz Rent-A-Car, man. What was your favorite car back then, Coach? Would you get the,
Oh
what was your favorite car at Hertz back then?
man, great question. So being one of the perks I had being a manager was that we pretty much could drive any car off the lot other than like a huge
Nice.
SUV. So the era of the 300Cs and Challengers.
There we go.
So
And, Coach, we should note that's not an NCAA violation. This is before you were in college,
300C
Coach.
Chrysler and the Charger. I'm sorry, the Charger. When
No
the
doubt.
Charger scene. Oh man, so between those two, man, because I was at that time I was 23, 24, and that was a good season or two for me,
No doubt.
enjoying driving some good cars and not have to worry about gas. But I'm
No
so
doubt.
thankful that I found another path. And again, no disrespect to that. That was just for me, my calling has always been the gridiron, the being on the field.
No doubt.
Football.
All jobs are not for everybody, Coach. And Coach O'Flaherty, I remember. Coach, you remember this guy right here in a Charger, Coach, back in the late 2000s. But I was too cheap, Coach. I had the black Dodge Charger. It must have been like an '07,
You had
'08.
one. Okay. Yeah, that was the whip. I mean,
That was the heyday, man. And
that was the 4-man Bentley, man.
absolutely, it was the poor man's Bentley. But even in a poor man's Bentley, I was still too cheap for the gas, man. I felt like I was driving from gas station to gas station,
Yeah.
especially living in New York City, man. It was just not.
Yeah.
It made a rumble and it turned heads at a red light, Coach, but it just wasn't practical for a family man at that time. So, but Coach, we really are excited to have you here tonight, and I think one of the things for us is, Coach, why don't we jump into some football, Coach O'Flaherty? Once you get with Coach
Sure.
Reynolds on some football stuff, man.
Yeah, coaches, are you hearing me okay?
I got you perfectly. Coach.
Okay, great. So, and we talked a little bit about this Monday night in the sound check. we spend so much time as offense coordinators and quarterback coaches. We're talking about, protection. We're talking about progressions and all those good things. Some of the things that get pushed to the wayside is, how the quarterback carries the football, right? Because, listen, the D line is going to get to the quarterback eventually, right?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully not too much, but they're going to get to us. Now, you
Right.
drill all week how, hand fighting and how you're going to defeat offensive linemen. Is there something that you prioritize?
Yeah.
Now you're to the quarterback,
Yeah.
and obviously you want to sack the quarterback, but is there something that you're teaching your guys about how to jar this ball loose and are you looking at that throughout the week in film? Hey, this guy holds the ball here or so on.
Yeah, good question. So, Coach, to answer that, in terms of how we attack the ball, we when we attack the ball, we want to simultaneously secure the tackle, okay, and come with a violent strike or a strip rather on the football. So we always want to make sure we secure it, okay, secure the ball carrier, and then we want to violently strip at the ball, okay. We want to have open hand and see. I'm a firm believer that our power is within our eyes. So we need to see exactly what we hit and be violent with it. Depending on the kid or the player, the opponent who we're going against, we always make a cut up. If a kid has a tendency to fumble the ball, to get hit and not be able to, if a kid tends to not have good ball security, it's a major emphasis. And what we do with our guys is we show them all the clips throughout the course of the season where he has lost the ball. So our guys can visualize and see themselves making that play. But, for us, we want to – can I say something as a D-line? I don't like quarterbacks other than the ones that at SU. You know what I mean? So our job is to affect the quarterback in every way. We want to, just being frank with you, we want him to feel our presence, and we want, be violent. And even as we come down and as we tackle him or come down, we want to lay our body on that quarterback because we understand that the quarterback is the captain, the leader. He's the general that runs the ship. And if we can affect him, and we can really give our chances, ourselves a better chance of winning the game if we can do that.
No doubt. Hey, Coach, I know this. I always like to ask guys who are on the defensive side of the ball or express their displeasure for quarterbacks. Coach, you got to tell the truth, man. I wish we had a truth serum right now. Did you ever in your life, even if you were a gigantic kid with number 68 on, did you ever want to be a quarterback when, like, your first time at youth football practice, were you like, I'm going to be that guy? Ever?
No, only time I wanted to be a quarterback was in playing street football. You know what I mean? 'Cause if I wanted to, I wanted to coordinate and throw the ball. But no, in youth football, I've always wanted to be. I played running back as a little league, and then played linebacker, D-line, and all those things. But no, I never truly had that aspiration to be a quarterback. Other than
All right, well, I like that. And I'll throw it back to Coach O'Flaherty, who happens to be his alter ego as a phys ed teacher is he's one of the best automatic quarterbacks in the state of New Jersey during gym class period, Coach. He works magic, man. It's unbelievable.
I still have eligibility, so.
I heard
Coach,
you did well back in the day.
That's right.
Yeah, you know what? I blame my coaches. We didn't throw the ball enough.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Listen, we talk a lot about the quarterback play, and this is so hard on the high school level. When quarterbacks get to the top of their drop, we're asking them essentially not to panic, because to the normal high school kid, number 5 coming off the edge still looks like pressure that we can't pick up.
Right.
And we're asking them to have these subtle movements, and not to, escape the pocket immediately. Is that another thing in your weekly preparation, whether it be, maybe something in spring ball or something on a weekly basis that you're looking at saying, hey, you know what, this guy, the minute he sees, some type of pressure, he's escaping the pocket. Is that something that you're training your guys or making them aware of?
Absolutely. I mean, again, as we break down our opponent, we're looking at every detail, every tip that we can possibly get. And, we're looking at is this guy a progression quarterback where he's going to go through his reads? Is this a guy that's going to look at his main target and then look to extend the play with his feet or scramble? Whatever the case may be, we're looking at all of that, and we have to give that data. We have to prepare our guys for that situation. So, when you talk about Sunday breakdown, my responsibility is the run game, inside run in particular. Where I handle all the inside run and the protections. Okay, and with the protections, I'm seeing every scramble. I'm seeing everything, and we're getting a feel where that quarterback is more comfortable at. He's more comfortable running to his right versus the left. You got to look at all those things because again, this game is the margin of error is so small, as you guys know. It can go either way, and you want to give your team, your group, the best advantage possible going in each game. And I think we do a good job of just trying to again breaking that down.
For sure, man. For sure. Coach, I know just feeding off that, Coach O'Flaherty, before I jump back in, I know you were talking a little bit of inside zone, right?
Yeah, so I think so many teams have some type of inside zone component or zone read component rather. If a team is running inside zone, I'm sure you have a bunch of different techniques for your defensive ends, right? In terms of how you're going to defend that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Defensive end? Yeah.
Yeah, so defensive end, I'm trying to read you, have you found over time a certain technique that is giving back and that mesh a little bit more problems than others?
I think so. So, guys, only the skin cat. One thing that I see a lot of coaches, they tell guys to mesh. And when I ask, as during this time, as I talk to high school kids and I'm talking to them, and I'm saying, hey, when you're looking at the mesh, what are you looking at? They say, hey, I'm just looking at the mesh. And to me, that's looking at too much. It's very clear to me. What I need to look at is the ball. My eyes are going literally at the ball. And I want to stay square. Obviously, if I turn my pads and run flat down the line, your read is to keep and pull. So what we do and what I believe in, and number one is as I get off the ball, and my first key is the tackle. As the tackle is the veer, now I know I need to shuffle and squeeze. One of the issues that I see in high school football and even college football is that kids, when they tend to squeeze, they over squeeze. They squeeze to the B gap and the A gap. Like if I have a bubble, if I'm to the nose tackle, whoever the backer is responsible for the B gap. He needs to get his butt in the B gap. If I got a 3 technique to me, then chances are then it's gonna stay to the A gap and it's gonna buy that read player some time. So I think it's very important to let the kid understand his gap responsibility. Like once the quarterback pulls the ball, he needs just to be in position to make that play in the C gap. Just talking zone read if you're a gap team. And I think you need to really train his eyes on where they need to be. Because again, if the quarterback doesn't have anything in his hands, if you're reading his hands, then who the heck has the ball? The running back. I close down. If the quarterback has the ball, then depending on how you playing it, we'll be inside out. If we, have an alley support, if there's no alley support, then I'm gonna be outside in and I'm gonna make the play. But I think training his eyes and seeing it from the quarterback perspective is key as a coach. So if you're drilling that, you want to see his eyes. So that's what I do as a coach. I'm looking literally at the eyes where it slows it down.
Yeah, Coach, I think, more and more as teams are running, zone read, you're getting so much bend and scrape, and I'm almost reluctant to run zone read away from that 1-5 bubble because it's such a natural bend and scrape for the mic and the end. I almost want to run it to that tuck backer because it's a little bit harder. Now, listen, you obviously now you got to get underneath that 3 technique, but it's really like kind of pick your poison on the offensive side, and I think that's why me personally you got to protect, whether it's 11 personnel or some type of attachment, you got to protect that because you're going to get some type of response. You're not just reading the end anymore. You're reading the end, and now you're playing off a scraping backer. Makes life really, really difficult for the offense. And coach, last thing on speed. If you had to, looking at the whole defensive structure, and you had to pick, a team that was efficient running screens, a really good screen team, or a really good play action team, what would you rather play against?
You said the question again is, would I rather play against a screen team or a play action team?
Yeah, so a team that's really good at running screens or a team that's really good at running play action from the whole defensive structure, what would you rather play against?
I would say screens. I think screens are a little bit easier. I think you get the guys on the edge that be physical and play some press, and you can for the defensive end, we can get to the party. I mean, when you talk about pursuing and playing with leverage, I mean, whoever's the force player needs to force the ball back, and we get guys rallying to the ball. For the defense, I think is a lot easier in terms of that. I think you got to, the D line is critical in screens though, because the O line they're going, they're extra hats in the pitching. And I feel really good. We haven't, that hasn't been an issue throughout my career, in terms of getting the guys running to the ball and pursuing. I think play action is a lot harder because, you got, especially for a good running team. I mean, if you're running the ball and it's one of those days, I mean, it's wide open. We've faced some of that during our time here against some teams, so. My preference, just from the sake of being able to defend, I feel like we could. If one was easier, I would say probably defending screens versus play action. Again, what makes play action good is a really good running scheme.
No doubt. Hey, Coach, back to what Coach O'Flaherty talked about a couple minutes ago, related to quarterbacks and how we're teaching them to behave in the pocket and all of that. Has there been a collegiate quarterback in your recent memory that you came across who was really competent and efficient in the pocket? Because that's obviously something that you're going to plan for in game week for a guy who he's got that comfort level in dealing in the pocket.
Well, I would say the best I've ever seen is by far is Lamar Jackson. What Lamar was able to do. I mean, if you had 13 guys on the field, I don't think it mattered. He was just exceptional. You could have leverage, and he would out leverage you with his feet, and then he would run you over as well, or he could jump over you. He was a highlight film every snap, and it was I've never seen anything like that out of all my years. Even I've seen a lot of great ones. I've never seen one like him. Yeah. He's the one that stands out amongst the rest, because I think a true dual threat quarterback, that gives us fits. I mean, I don't mind seeing a guy that's going to sit in the pocket and throw. Like, I like that. You know what I mean? Because, as a D lineman, we know he's not looking to scramble. We know all we got to do is beat the guy that's over us. And when we get there, we're going to let our presence be felt. I prefer that. I don't like playing against a true dual threat guy. And the guy that stands out in my mind is Lamar, no question.
Yeah, I think with Lamar Jackson, Coach, I think everyone will concur on that. That's when you put the cap back on the dry erase when you're dealing with him, right? Like you said. So you're not gonna find too many solutions there. I think So as long as we're talking about the quarterbacks and how they relate to the way that you coach your guys, we're gonna shift gears a little bit, Coach. I think the reality is, Coach, especially for you, you're assigned one of your recruiting areas is North Jersey.
Yep.
New Jersey is the most densely populated state in America. Little trivia question there for everybody. It's the most densely populated state in America.
Really?
And yeah, for sure, man. It's got probably top of my head, it's probably got 5 or 6, relative to Jersey, urban centers in the state, and it's by a wide margin that it's the most densely populated. So my point here, Coach, is that you're not getting a college job these days in most cases, and you're not getting assigned a place like North Jersey if you can't recruit. And Coach O'Flaherty and I have both been around you. And we know the way you deal. And one of the things that I think we both, in our private conversations when we talk about you, is that we feel like you give kids and coaches a pretty straight shot in terms of like, look, this is what's on our mind with you and what's not. What have you noticed on the flip side, and with respect to quarterbacks? And what we experience is a level on the camp, just in terms of being around the country and going to these camps and stuff. Sometimes we'll see a quarterback who's clearly probably not a scholarship quarterback, but whether it was a private trainer or it was some sort of outside influence or it was social media or the internet, made a kid feel like you're a Division I college quarterback. And instead of being comfortable in their own skin and being like, whatever level I'm really a fit for, let me go pursue that and chase the glory there. It feels like a lot of times it's a square peg in a round hole trying to just get to that level that they have predetermined in their head. How much of that do you run into on the recruiting trail when it comes to quarterbacks, even as you go through the eval process and when you interact with them and families?
Man, good question. So first off, I appreciate what you guys said about me regarding, how you guys feel me and view me, my integrity. I feel like the reason why I'm where I'm at today is just being me and being upfront. I never want to be deceitful in recruiting. I don't believe in that. I think the best way to be as a recruiter is to be upfront. And a lot of times you don't have that in our game. It's because it's such a competitive game. You got a lot of fluff a lot of times. But I've always made a commitment to myself that I'm gonna be true to who I am and what I believe in. But the quarterback position has been over the years is more competitive and it's getting competitive every year, and is really a position is the most scrutinized as it should be. It's the most evaluated. Is the most opinionated. Sometimes I question whether I'm looking at the right things. But I've been on every staff I've been a part of. You got, like, let's give you an example for like a D lineman. You got myself, the coordinator, our head coach, our recruiting coordinator. Those are the main contributors to the evaluation. When it comes to the quarterback position, we got three to four guys again still, but that are very involved. However, even once let's say they give the thumbs up or not, we want to know everything about that kid, everything
Sure.
from what elementary he went to, middle school, high school, how many sports did he play? Does he have a girlfriend? Has he been in a fight? Is he a competitor?
Yeah.
What is this the type of young man, do you foresee him dating your daughter? I mean, it's so in depth, and every advantage a kid can get from his camp. So it could be that his quarterback coach plays an integral role. If there's a connection with the school and there's a level of trust, because in recruiting, as we all know, it's a lot of it is relationship based, and particularly at that position, you got to feel very comfortable with the people that are touching that quarterback, from his trainer, his head coach, his quarterback coach, and everything you hear. So I'm not sure if Chris, if I'm answering your question.
Yeah, I think you definitely are, Coach. I think one of the things is now it's kind of unique because you're a D-line coach, so I know that. And one of the things I think, and could have phrased this a little bit better. Also, one of the things I want to touch on is just that understanding that with quarterbacks, it's a little different. There's a potential that in one football game, 6 or 7 DBs may step on the field. There's a potential that in one full football season, one quarterback will step on the field.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant. And I think for you, recruiting in an area that's, as we said, really densely populated, got a lot of potential athletes, football players that could play in the ACC. You got to make snap judgments and evaluations. But even after it gets to the point where Vince Reynolds says, hey, you know what? I saw this quarterback on film and met him in person. He checks all the boxes for me. But at a certain point, that's out of your hands, right? So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, for most all assistants, unless he's the OC or the quarterback coach, it's your job to get the data, the information, everything you can to present to your staff and make a case for a particular kid, if I feel very strong and have that conviction, no question, I'm going to stand on the table. And there's been times that I stood on the table and I was right, or it was my staff felt they was in agreement. And there was times, there's been times when we're not on the same page, and there's nothing wrong with that. As men, we're going to agree to disagree. We are. That's the beauty of having a staff. The big thing is not allowing your ego to get in in the way of the common goal is to do the right thing. So, but being a D-line guy was, our starter right now was a guy that I did recruit, and our quarterback Tommy Vito, and he's a.
We don't talk about those guys, Coach. We don't talk about
that. So we got a North Jersey guy, and hopefully sooner than later we get another one. But it's just, again, I can't say enough about how that position is the most important position, and I understand it, I get it, and I value how we go through the process.
Now, Coach, let me ask you this. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, one last thing before we move off of the recruiting topic. What would be a piece? We're obviously slanted toward the quarterback, but I think this could be universal advice, but especially toward the quarterback. What's a piece of advice you could give? And I'll say to quarterbacks, but also to the people around them, people close to them. Because sometimes the anxiety that I see, and I bet Coach O'Flaherty concur with this, is that the anxiety that gets created, sometimes it's not in the 17-year-old or the 18-year-old's head. It's the people that are around them saying, you got to have this, or you got to have this, or this ain't right, or that's not right. And it's what piece of advice could you give to a recruit to slow things down and get the most production out of the process of recruiting?
Not quarterback in particular. You're just talking in recruiting.
I say in general, but even with you're around enough quarterbacks that you have to at least make the initial eval on. I would say we're always slanted toward the quarterback, but I think it probably could be universal advice as well. Whatever you think is the best piece.
So I think the first thing in terms of recruiting, I mean, academically, you need to put yourself in a position to be recruited to have good grades. Okay, so let's just put that out there. If you don't have the grades, you don't have a chance, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, I haven't been on a staff where we're taking a 2.1 quarterback, unless he was just, again, the exception to the rule. I mean, he's unbelievable. Obviously, you've had his history has shown there's been some of those guys, but for a kid through the recruiting process to put himself in the best situation, number one, he needs to be playing. He needs to be starting. He needs to show up. He needs to, as you put on the film, he needs to be recognizable. He needs to be on our level. He needs to be the best guy out there. He can't be just a guy. You have to flash. You got to jump out. And I think a lot of guys with their highlight films, some are too long with not enough good clips, and some are too short. I always tell kids, put the best highlights at the beginning, because you want to get the attention of the recruiter right away.
Sure.
If it's a 10-minute highlight, coaches are not watching 10 minutes of a highlight. I mean, I can watch it. For me, I could watch first 5, 10 clips, and like, okay, yes, you get an idea right away. You know what I mean?
No
So
doubt.
again,
You have an
put the
idea.
top clips on immediately, um, and then I would say for the kids, you got to make the sacrifices on the weekend early on. If you're a freshman, sophomore, get the camps. I get it. You don't
Sure.
want to don't over camp yourself where you burn yourself out where you can't perform for your own team. But as a youngin, I would encourage all freshmen to go to camp to get that experience, to get the jitters out,
Yep.
to understand the expectations, to be able to compete, to see the other guys, and then also to get on the radar. Get on the
No.
radar. There's something to be said about a young guy getting seen in early on, because now it gives me, for instance, if I see a kid that's a rising sophomore, for instance, he comes on our campus, he performs well. We're sitting down, we're talking about it. Okay, he's
Yep.
already on board, he's already in the system. So then when I go to the school, I'm seeking him out.
Yep.
Even though we can't talk to him or whatever, I'm saying, hey, Coach Flattery, where is he at? Let me just let him know I'm
No
I'm
doubt.
I'm in the gym, and tell him I said hello.
Yep.
I think that's very important, just because you have to make that sacrifice. And I think the thing that we see in our game, a lot of the coaches are making the sacrifices. They're the ones that's bringing the kids up, and after the game on a Friday night and driving up. The parents need to make more of a sacrifice, in my opinion,
Okay.
and not worry about having, again, I get it. You got a tough week, a lot going on, and you want that Saturday, Sunday to unwind, but
Yep.
you need to pay it forward and think about the value of a Syracuse degree, which is over $350,000 over the course of
Yep.
4 years. I mean, those are things you need to think about and again make those sacrifices. So a
Yep.
combination, again, highlight film, grades, uh, get on campus, go to camps, and then also once you once you have contact with a coach and there's a relationship being built, it's a two-way street.
Yep.
As a kid, don't just put it upon the coach to make all the initiatives. It's
Yep.
on you. You're trying to find the
Yep.
best situation for yourself. You should be reaching out and getting to know the program in every way you can.
True. True. Coach, last thing I think it's really helpful recruiting advice. We appreciate that. And then last thing I want to touch on is, Coach, you can't step out of the house. You can't look at your phone. You can't look at a screen of any kind without knowing right now that we're in a whole lot of turmoil across the country. Like we got a lot going on. We talked last week about the state of uh, just where black people are at with respect to police brutality and some really, really serious topics. And then Coach O'Flaherty and I have participated in a couple of things even here. Like there's a flip side to it too, as even as white coaches who coach both black and white athletes, the way that we've got to be able to address different situations and make sure that we're in a position to be of best service, the best service that we can give with these issues that are bigger than football, for sure. That we all got a major obligation. That
Yeah.
I hope, and Coach O'Flaherty and I were on the phone, I think yesterday, and said, like, I think it's a unique point in history right now, and I hope I'm right. I hope we're right. That right now we have a chance to actually have some. The word change gets thrown around a lot. I hope that this can
Yeah.
translate to action, and then a different kind of world when we look up, and the kids that we're raising. Doesn't matter, honestly, with regard to that, doesn't matter what you look like. That the kids that you're raising now will inherit a different kind of world. So, with that in mind, Coach, when it comes to football, it's I think I sense just from your personality that you want to be the type of dude who encourages young men to have a voice, particularly black college athletes to be able to have a voice. But also, all those people with voices and opinions and everything, they got to fit within the construct of a football team. And it doesn't mean you don't want them to have an opinion, and it doesn't mean you don't want them to voice and be able to have a voice and find that voice. What do you think is the sweet spot with teaching young men to be able to have an opinion and a political voice and all of that, but also make sure that they have that laser focus to be part of a larger team?
Well, that's a good question. I think to answer your question, first off, I would say there's if our world and our nation would embody what is what the character is of the locker room, being that we all come from all different walks of life, different races, different ethnicity. If we can embrace that, and we can have a common goal and be on one accord in the locker room, just imagine what our nation can do. I think number one, we need to value the opinions of our peers, our teammates, our friends. We need to take a step and just listen, because a
Yep.
lot of our young men are frustrated. They're angry.
Hmm.
I think we need to be able to express and let it out. Um, and I think the white teammates to embrace and try to have an understanding. Even though they can never truly understand what it is to be an African American male. They
Yep.
need to have some empathy and be and again be a friend and listen. And I think the more we can do that and again unify, I think the better we are as a nation.
Yep.
Ultimately, this is as you talk about change, I think we are in a time of change. Um, I look at we talk about George Floyd. He he's on center stage with his death and what happened, obviously. But I look at him as a catalyst. I look at God using him. He's a person in change. He like God is using him no different than in the way that Rosa Parks was used, and
I
you
know.
know the great leaders before us. He unfortunately for his family, they won't see him again until they get to the pearly gates. But he's a catalyst for what has happened for hundreds of years, and I'm excited about what's happening already. I think a few hours ago, my wife was telling me even NASCAR has eliminated the Confederate flag.
That's a nice.
You've already seen Minnesota that
Yep.
the, they've implemented a no choke rule, and I would imagine that's going to
Uh-huh.
take precedence within our own nation. So right now, you're already seeing change that's taking place. Uh, but again, the thing I want to say again, if we can come together in our locker rooms, from you guys have diverse programs,
No,
and
no.
again, if you think about that we all we have one goal, and that's to win the team. Nothing is bigger than the team. It's never been bigger than anybody else. It's not about. We've always heard it. This program is going to be here before you and after you.
No
This is
doubt.
your seat. This is our time. This is where we're at. So again, being as diverse as it is, if we can come together, I wish that our nation will take on the characteristics of what it is like to be in a locker room. Because I've never been in a locker room that was divided. Maybe there was issue here and there, but again,
Yep.
even with a losing season, we still
No doubt.
find a way to come together.
That's a great answer, Coach. I appreciate it. Pretty
Well said,
comprehensive.
Coach.
Um, so, Coach, before we wrap, before we turn you loose, we're gonna come up on complete QB trivia, Coach. So we're gonna put you on the spot in front of the whole country. This is make or break, Coach. All right. Now, we're gonna allow first person answers either in the chat or in DM before we wrap up tonight. We have a
Okay.
thematic Syracuse themed trivia question for you, Coach. All right. Now, Coach,
Yep.
this is really unfair because you're a whole lot younger than me. And so you
So I
probably
got it
got.
wrong already, is what you're saying. Okay.
Now, hopefully,
I
Coach
got a good
Babers, if you
bonus
get this wrong, will not dock the check or have you on like making sandwich
question.
runs as punishment or something, Coach. All right. So we're gonna throw this up here. So the first thing, the trivia question tonight: in which bowl game did Syracuse play to a 16-16 tie versus Auburn in 1987? We're going to put up there's multiple choice here, Coach, so we made it a little easier for you, okay? So this is also for our audience out there. Go ahead and answer DM at CompleteQB on Twitter, or you can go ahead and answer in the chat. First one to get it right. Coach, in 1987, 16-16 tie, was it A, the Rose Bowl, B, the Sugar Bowl, C, the Fiesta Bowl, or D, the Citrus Bowl, Coach? One more time. A, Rose, B, Sugar, C, Fiesta, D, Citrus. For the good of the Syracuse Orange, Coach Reynolds, do you have an answer for us?
Yes, I do. So I'm gonna say this. This is one of the I don't what's the word I want to say. The way this game ended, it shouldn't have ended the way it ended
I
because
agree.
it was they should change the rules because Syracuse would have won the game
Correct.
and Auburn was going to kick the field goal, and I don't remember where they were at on the field, but
Yeah,
for them to say, okay, we're going to tie this thing up instead of going for the win, I just thought
yep,
that would make a lot of sense. But
absolutely.
the 16-16 score happened in the Sugar Bowl. I'm gonna go with B.
Woo! Coach is on fire. Syracuse played Auburn. Syracuse
Go,
played Auburn
let's go.
to a
Knowledge is power.
16-16 tie. A 16-16 tie, Coach. The studio audience is going crazy for you right now, Coach. They love it, man. In the Sugar Bowl, they finished the year ranked number 4 in the country. Quarterback, to keep with our quarterback thing, Don McPherson finished second in the Heisman balloting that year to Tim Brown from Notre Dame. So it really was, and I remember it especially hit home for me because my high school head coach played at Syracuse, and I remember he was just like, he was distraught when when they tied in the Sugar. It felt like a magical year where they had a shot to win a national title, and
Right.
just it kind of cut them off there at the pass, you know. So, hey, Coach, I know I speak for all of us, man. Really enjoyed having you on as a guest, man. Really a lot of fun just to we know you in a different capacity, be able to sit and talk with you here, and we're going to see some of the stuff, some of the excerpts. We'll be tagging you throughout the week on Twitter with some of this stuff, but we really appreciate your time, man. And Coach O'Flaherty, anything for Coach Reynolds?
No, just appreciate you, Coach. You're one of the best in the business.
Man,
All
I
right.
appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much.
No
I
doubt.
would just say this to you guys. It's always a joy when I get a chance to come in you guys to school and be around you. You know,
Appreciate that.
I missed that season. You know, we all missed that season this past year. You know, with the pandemic, what's going on. But I'll just say this. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. When I come in and get a chance to see both of you guys, is always genuine, and I appreciate it. It goes a long way for me. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely,
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach.
Means a lot to us on the flip side here as well. So as we wrap it up here, guys, want to thank certainly Coach Rod Carson down at Beaumont United High School in Texas. Want to thank Coach Vince Reynolds, assistant coach at Syracuse University. Coach, wish you all the best with your family, the health, and let's get back to some football, man. Thank you again. All right.
Sure. Yes, sir. All right,
All right,
fellas, have a
Coach.
good one now.
Same.